Today we are going to talk about another very important aspect of photography known as exposure. Exposure determines whether a picture is worth seeing or whether it is as per the requirement or it is not. It depends upon the taste of the cameraman, it depends upon the selection of the subject, the treatment of the subject, highlights and shadows and the colors that they are there in the picture. Now, but exposure at the same time is not this, it is the technical details which get involved in making a picture. There are three factors which are a part of the exposure. The first is the aperture, the second one is the shutter speed and the third one is ISO. We will see them all one by one. Aperture, it is opening in the lens. Basically, it shows the amount of light entering the camera and this is indicated by the factor f, which is followed by a figure. It can be figure 11, figure 22, figure 32, figure 5.6, figure 8 depending upon the requirement of the subject. However, these figures are in a chronological order, that is to say f1, f2.8, f4.5, f5.6, f8, f11, f16, f22, f32, f45, f64 and maybe even more. With each change in this figure, there is a certain amount of light increase or decrease which is actually double or half of it. For example, if aperture 8 allows x amount of light to go into the frame, aperture 11 will allow only x by 2, that is half of x light. Similarly, if we move from aperture 8 to f5.6, then it will allow the light which is equivalent to 2x. Therefore, aperture, then the opening of the iris or the lens can change the entire picture to the extent that if the aperture goes on changing and other factors remain the same, the picture can be overexposed or underexposed. Remember, as the figure increases, the amount of light goes on halving, and similarly the other way around, if the figure decreases, the amount of light goes on doubling. The next factor is shutter speed. It is the duration for which the iris is open so that the light can pass on to the frame. Now, the shutter speed can vary from say even 1/4000th of a second to 8 seconds and even further under your control up to a setting called bulb setting or the B setting. Now, how does it move? If it is say for example 1/4000th of a second, when you move to 1/2000th of a second, it is double the amount of light that is allowing to go into the frame, and this moves in a particular order. For example, 1/4000th of a second, 1/2000th of a second, 1/1000th of a second, 1/500 of a second, 1/250 of a second, 1/125 of a second, 1/60th of a second, 1/30th of a second, 1/15th of a second, 1/8th of a second, 1/4th of a second, 1/2 of a second, 1 second, 2 seconds, 4 seconds, as I said 8 seconds, and finally the bulb setting, which is completely controlled differently through a different system. Now, these are the settings, and each movement of this setting ensures either double the amount of light, as I already explained, or half the amount of light. For example, if the shutter speed is 1/125 and we move on to 1/60th of a second, then what we are doing is we are giving it a greater exposure, that is to say slower exposure. On the other hand, if you are moving from 125 to 250, we are making it a faster shutter speed. And as I said earlier, each time the amount of light which passes through is either half or double of the amount that was originally planned. The third and last but not the least is the ISO, which stands for International Standards Organization. It is an organization which has decided as to the sensitivity of the film to light, or it is also applicable to CCD. Now, ISO, it is a system whereby we check the ability of the film to record the image in a particular manner. Higher the ISO, the faster the film, and lower the ISO, the slower the film. Let us quickly go over as to what is ISO and how has it come to existence. Initially, it is the Germans who started with a system called DIN, D-I-N. Now, DIN was one way of measuring the sensitivity of the film to record an image. For example, DIN 21 indicated the sensitivity which is equivalent today to 100. Similarly, when the Americans, they decided to have their own system of sensitivity, they said American Standards Association. They established American Standard Association, which was to study the amount of light which was being recorded as image on the film. Now, they had the figures like 100, 200, 400. Actually, it begins from 12, 25, 50, 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600, 3200 and even 6400. So, I believe. In between, they also had 64 and also 125 ASA. The fact, however, remains that what the Germans did, the Americans did in their own way. However, this did not get along for too long, and the International Standards Organization was established, where they merged the two of them into one frame and they gave it a ISO. For example, ISO 100/21 indicates 100 ISO. So, this way today we have ISO, as I have said earlier, ranging from 12 to 6400. Now, how does it make a difference to the picture? That is the real thing. Like the aperture and also like the shutter speed, every variation in this ISO either doubles the amount of light or reduces the amount of light to half. To begin with, let us say if a film which is of ISO 100 and we want to shoot it at 200, then it is a faster film. Therefore, it will require half amount of light to get the same exposure. Going the other way around, a ISO 100 film, when it is used at 50, it will require double the amount of light, and that is how it moves on. Now, ISO, shutter speed and aperture are interdependent. If one varies, the other two may also vary, or maybe one of them may vary. The point to note is that the slower the film, the better the quality of image. Now, let us see the relationship among the three factors that I have described earlier. If lens is the requirement of taking a picture, exposure is the mother of taking a correctly exposed picture, and therefore, the relationship between all these three has to be understood correctly. The point to note is that if, as I said earlier, one varies, the other also has to be varied depending upon the requirement of the cameraman or the photographer. What is a correctly exposed picture? A correctly exposed picture shows the correct amount or the exact amount of shadows and highlights and also colors as they appear to the eye as a natural phenomenon. Now, to get these things together, we use all the three factors in order to get a correctly exposed picture. As I said earlier, one depends upon the other, and variation of one will change the fixing of the other factor. It could be, suppose for example, if it is the aperture, then if the aperture changes, maybe we will have to shift the shutter speed, or maybe we will have to shift the ISO. It is up to us what kind of result do we want, and if we want a result which is based on our perception of the picture, we will have to accordingly change the other factors. Now, if we take say only one factor, and if we change it, then it will affect our picture in two ways. Suppose for example, we are taking a picture at f11 and the other two factors are constant. If we move from f11 to f16, we are underexposing the film by half. Similarly, if we move it from f11 to f8, we are overexposing by double the amount of light. This has to be understood, and it is for this variation in the light that is going through that we have to change the either of the two arrangements that we have, that is the shutter speed or the ISO. Let us say that this is a correctly exposed picture. The technical details are f11, 1/125 and ISO 200, which means to say the picture was taken at the aperture f11, the shutter speed was 1/125th of a second and the ISO set was 200, whether on the camera, on the film or on the CCD. Here is another example. In this example, I have tried to show two subjects, two objects, one the temple and the other the clouds behind the temple. Now, it was my choice whether to show or whether to give importance to the temple or to the clouds. However, I felt that if the temple was in sharp focus and the clouds were also appearing as they were appearing to the eye, that would be a nice shot. And therefore, what I did, I had to make some arrangements, I had to make some system whereby I could get both of them in the correctly exposed manner. In the second picture that I am showing, you will see that the clouds are very beautiful, they are dark, they are clear, while the temple is almost in a silhouette. In the third picture that you are seeing, the temple is in correct exposure, but the clouds are little overexposed. In the fourth picture, you will see that the clouds as well as the subject, that is the temple, are overexposed. And in this picture that I am showing you now, the temple is in correct focus, as also the cloud effect is also very well visible. This is what I wanted when I began the shoot. And now here is another picture, just to give you another example, where everything is washed out. That is to say, I have overexposed the entire frame. Now, if I want another picture of the same subject under the same lighting conditions with an alteration of f11 to say f16, that is one stop under, I will have to vary one of the other two factors so as to give the correct exposure, which means to say I can reduce the shutter speed to 1/60th, that is double of what it was earlier on, or I can use another film say of ISO 100, or I can modify the ISO on the CCD to 100. This will give me a compensation for the f11 to f16, which means I reduced the light to half at the aperture level, but I have increased the timing into 1/60th of a second, which is double the amount of light. Therefore, it is balancing it out. In one way, I have given the underexposure, in the other I have given the overexposure. Similarly, the third choice was that I could change the ISO. ISO 200 is faster compared to ISO 100. So, therefore, whatever the aperture I had reduced from f11 to f16, now by going over from f200 to f100, I have increased the double amount of time. This is the early morning, that is the before sunrise shot of a place near Jabalpur, Beda Ghat. Now, if you see here, the subject that is in silhouette and the beautiful orange clouds or the water, everything is in correct exposure. Here is another example of a picture which I feel is generally correctly exposed. This was taken in Hyderabad and it shows the movement of traffic at night. It also shows the area lit up because of the lights in the city. The point to note here is that while the tail lights and the headlights are correctly visible, there is a place where there is a kind of overexposure of the headlight, which cannot be helped simply because if I underexpose the headlights, I will be underexposing the entire frame. So, therefore, this is a compromise, but a good compromise and a useful compromise. This is a picture of a subject which is backlit. The flowers have a kind of rim lighting around it, but if you see carefully, even the flowers which have been lighted from front carry all the details. They have the shadows, they have the highlights, and they also have the correct colors. This picture was taken, you can see, under the trees in Kargil. Now, green poplar trees, they have an impact over the entire area. But if you see carefully, while the greens have been controlled, overall the colors, the yellow color, the red color or the blue color, they are generally correct. Yes, but one can feel a slight bit of green tinge, that is because of the light which is being reflected by the trees. This is a simple picture of a flower taken in the broad daylight, and it is correctly exposed, and the details of the petals of the flower are very clearly visible, and so is the bud. Yes, the green foliage which is along with the flower is little darkish, because green by nature requires extra exposure. If I had given extra exposure to the flower, the greens would have been correct, but the flower would have been almost washed out or maybe overexposed. To me, since my subject is flowers, therefore I had to concentrate on the flower rather than on the green leaves, which are basically a kind of add-on to the subject. Let us make a comparative table from theory point of view. It may be noted that this applies only to the exposure. The results may slightly be different as regards the depth of field, the movement of the subject and grains on the film. Let us take technical details of a picture in which it is f8, 1/125 and 400 ISO. Now, the same thing can be expressed by f11, 1/125 and ISO 200. The point to note is that when I have reduced the amount of light going through the aperture to half, I have increased the ISO of the film, which is to double. Therefore, there is a complete balance as far as the light which is reaching the image is concerned. Another example is that I let the aperture remain at f8 and I change the shutter speed from 125 to 1/60th of a second, and I increase the ISO to 800. Now, what I have done is that aperture is constant, the shutter speed has gone to double and the ISO has gone to half. Therefore, if you see it, all these three pictures are balanced as far as exposure is concerned, but the results will be different. In the first case, let us say it was a correct picture. In the case when I have increased the aperture to f11, I have got the facility of increasing the depth of field. While in the third case, when I have reduced or I have made the picture at a slower speed of 1/60th of a second, what I have done is I am trying to get more movement because the exposure is longer in terms of time, and I have reduced the ISO from 400 to 800, which means I am compensating for the reduced duration by increasing the ISO of the film. Technically speaking, the exposure is same for all the three sets. The results will not be same, as I have already explained. Let us now take incident light and reflected light. Incident light in the case of say single source, that is to say key light, is the light which is falling onto the subject. This light is recorded as incident light, and the light which goes into the camera is known as reflected light. Let us take light meter. It is a very important and a very useful source to the photographer to measure exposure. In this, what happens is all the three factors are available to you. You fix up one factor, say for example ISO. When you expose the light meter to a source, it gives you a reading which is related both to the aperture as also the shutter speed, and thereafter if you want to move the shutter speed, you will automatically get the aperture and vice versa. It is a very useful instrument for cameramen for still photography. Exposure decides the final picture. The picture is the result of the vision of the cameraman. A correctly exposed picture has proper highlights, shadows and colors which are as close as one sees with the naked eye. A picture may be correctly exposed, overexposed or underexposed. The three factors which decide the exposure are aperture, shutter speed and the ISO, and they are interdependent. One depends upon the other. Change in one factor will force change in the other, maybe both the factors or maybe one of the two factors, but the change is necessitated because of the change in one of the factors. Now, this change will depend upon the selection of the subject, the treatment of the subject and highlights and shadows and colors of the subject.